Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. I know we got both college and NFL football going on right now. But now, with the NBA starting this week finally, it's finally time to go over my preseason NBA predictions. Now, I go do an in-depth analysis of each team in article settings. If you want to see that, go to my LinkedIn page down right, and you can get the full in details there. But for this one, I'm just going over, the standings, who makes the playoffs, and then who wins it all. So let's get started with the Eastern Conference. Now, keep in mind with my standings here that since the regular season is unpredictable due to like maybe some players are out for a few games with injuries, load management, or just strength of schedules, etc. It's very hard to predict these standings. Now, like if you give me a set of standings and then I predict the playoffs, then that's way easier. But for this is pretty hard. So like if if a team's off by 2 spots, and it's by a few games, then it's close enough. But here we go in the East. Philadelphia, I'll have as number one overall seed. I expect Tyrese Maxey to improve, and B is going to do his thing. Harden seems to be bought in, despite taking the pay cut. We'll see if he can stay healthy. And then they upgraded their bench, which was definitely a need this offseason. They did that. Um, so and then second, I have Milwaukee. Chris Middleton's gonna be healthy, and the Bucks just had injury problems for mostly all last year. So I feel like if they can avoid the injury bug this year, then they should be just fine. Especially since they also added a veteran Joe Ingles, which I like that move. So I like the direction they're going as well. Three, I have Cleveland. Yes, I feel like that Donovan Mitchell trade, at least regular season wise, does make a big difference. And remember, Cleveland was the top four seed for the majority of the year last year before Jared Allen and you know suffered an injury, and that kind of made them fall into the play-in tournament. So I do feel like Cleveland will be way better this year. Four, I got Boston. I know the team improved, because they got Malcolm Brogdon. They got Gallinari. He's mostly out for most of the year with an ACL injury. We got Blake Griffin, but I feel like the coaching, again, does matter a little bit. It would not have Ime Udoka there. I'm sure the assistant coach is fine, but I don't think he might be on Ime's level. He could prove me wrong, but we'll see. So that's why I kind of slip it down to the 4 seed there. Um, Fifth seed, I got Brooklyn. They have all the talent, and I expect Kyrie and KD to play more games than they did last year, which helps. But the problem is, again, chemistry-wise, I just gotta wait to see how that works. Atlanta 6, I like the addition of DeJounte Murray. I feel like that'll help them, especially defensively, because they were not that good defensively last year. John Collins was out for the majority of last year. He'll be back. And DeAndre Hunter kind of like, impressed and got better. Now, their bench is not good. So it costs them the postseason and the regular season, they'll be just fine, as long as they don't get many injuries. 7, I got Miami. I know it's a deep fall from the 1 seed last year to 7 seed this year, but I mean, I just don't think they're deep. I think Kyle Lowry's kind of on the decline, and while these undrafted players like Max Strus and Gabe Vincent do well for Miami, I just feel like they're, with all the teams in the East literally getting better from last year. I just don't see how, with them just maintaining, not getting any good additions or anything, they can still be the number one seed. I just can't see that happening. Maybe they're a little bit higher, but I just can't see them being the top 4 seed. And 8, I got Toronto. Um, they got veteran Otto Porter Jr., which helps. Who just won a championship at Golden State. But besides that, they haven't really made a lot of additions either. For them, it's just more of, can they stay healthy? Because Fred VanVleet, for example, had to miss the last few games in the first round of the postseason. That definitely is a factor. And then Siakam's had to miss time for a while. Anunoby has missed time for a while. So like the fact is, can they stay healthy is the question. 9, I got Chicago. I know they still have a lot of talent there, but it shows you how finally good and loaded the East is for Chicago to be at 9 right now. But I feel like Alonzo Ball being out for a while will hurt, and just defensively, Chicago is not good. I feel like that'll cost them in many games. And then for that 10th spot, So basically, the last spot to make the play-in tournament. It's tough. It's between Washington and New York, and I can see it going either way. Like I have, um, like because Washington, if Bradley Beal stays healthy all year, because last year he didn't, and then it makes sense for them to be in, especially since like their off season, and obviously New York getting Jalen Brunson helps as well. For me, I'm going to go with Washington here, just because I feel like if Bradley Beal is healthy and them like upgrading their bench and all that, I just feel like Washington has the more star players there and get the job done. But again, I have it just by separate by one game, but I have Washington in the last spot, which means I'm New York 11th. Then they have Charlotte 12th, kind of just a little bit out, barely out as well. LaMelo Ball being out for the first few weeks won't help, but I mean Charlotte, they hire their old head coach from years ago, which he's a good defensive coach, which is good. But the problem is they haven't really done anything in the offseason to kind of get better and upgrade the roster, especially with Miles Bridges potential being out for the year. So that's why I have them kind of slipping down from where they were have been the past few years. 13, I got Detroit. I like their young players. I think they're gonna, get better. But again, there's not enough depth there to make them, in contention for a play-in tournament. Same with Orlando and then Indiana are just kind of, those two teams that will be tanking by the end of it all. Okay, now in the West, I have Golden State as the 1 seed. Again, that's depending on if one stays healthy, but I do feel like since everyone returns, despite the Draymond Green issues that have been happening recently, I feel like they'll do just fine, and if they can stay healthy, unlike last year, they'll get the 1 seed. Because the only reason they had to get the 3 seed last year is because they just weren't healthy. But I feel like they'll be healthier this year. 2, I got Dallas. Now, a lot of people seem to be low on Dallas, thinking, oh, they're probably just going to go back to the play-in tournament. But it's just like, I mean, yes, I know they lose Jalen Brunson, but remember, they didn't have Tim Hardaway Jr. for most of last year. So he'll come in and replace what Brunson did. And even if you say, oh, there's a little bit of a drop off between Brunson and Hardaway Jr., well, remember, Dallas acquired Christian Wood. And with Christian Wood's points and Hardaway Jr.'s points combined, that's enough to offset Brunson. So I feel like Dallas will be just fine here, again, health-wise. Because remember, they in the second half of last year, after January, they didn't lose a lot of games. So they started off slow, but they got really hot. And I feel like now that there's more continuity there, Jason Kidd's second year there and all, they'll get off to a better start. Third, I got Denver. Again, all these teams are separated by basically 1 or 2 games. Like that's how razor thin the margins close are here, by the way. But I have Denver 3. I just feel like with Jamal Murray back and Michael Porter Jr. Now I don't trust Michael Porter Jr. to stay healthy, but at least I'll trust Jamal Murray to stay healthy. But with them back and all that, and them upgrading, getting KCP, Bruce Bowen from free agency, they got more good pieces there. To fortify their wing position and depth and all that. So, and since Denver's a really, really good regular season team, I feel like they can be back to being a top 3 seed. 4, I got the Clippers. Now, team-wise, the Clippers should be higher, but I expect Kawhi to load manage, and maybe Jamal Wall maybe get injured for few weeks, whatever. Maybe Paul George, something like that. That's what it is with the Clippers, especially with Kawhi. But that's why I'm expecting there. And then 5th, actually, it's a tie for 4th, but tiebreaker with the Clippers here. I have the 5th seed be Memphis. And I know they were the second best team last year, but Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr. I know he was out for a lot last year, but I feel like being out a lot again this year is not helpful, especially with, again, how deep and better the West has gotten. And then also, again, John Morant is kind of injury prone, so it wouldn't surprise me if he gets injured again. But, of course, I could see them finishing top 3, but, I'm going to have them finish, as a 5th seed right now. 6th seed, I have Minnesota, so, 1 seed up from last year, which I know since they got Rudy Gobert and they fortified their bench, they could move up higher. Again, I can see it's going either way. But again, I just feel like Minnesota will be one of those sneaky teams. Again, it's very improved. It'll be interesting how they do in the postseason. 7, New Orleans. Again, take 1 seed up better. Zion Williamson being back helps. And I feel like they kind of found something towards the end of last year to kind of get rolling this year. And then 8 seed, I have Phoenix. So that's right, I have Phoenix going from the 1 seed to the 8 seed this year. Jay Crowder is going to be traded, so he's not going to be with the team. So Cameron Johnson will replace him in the starting lineup. But then when you look at their bench, besides Landry Shamet, it's like, not really that good. They're not as deep as they were last year because, Cameron Payne hasn't been the same. Biombo, fine, kind of depend on the game. I know they're looking for trades to try to get better, so it wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But I just, DeAndre Ayton, not really wanting to be there, but since his son's paying that, he has to embrace it and be there. Chris Paul aging, and that definitely showed. Devin Booker not being able to kind of be a passing guard. And kind of has to cut the turnovers down. I just kind of see as one of those, wouldn't surprise me if, since they're talented enough, they can make the blast, but they're kind of a mess type of thing. But again, like the 1 seed and 8 seed is kind of all separated within 8 to 10 games. Like that's how close it is there. 9, I had the Lakers. I don't have them reach. I barely have them under 500 here, but I do think they're talented enough to make the play-in tournament. Well, of course, we'll see if LeBron can stay healthy this year. We'll see if AD finally stays healthy this year. Russell Westbrook's going to be injured. It looks like the start of the year, but we'll see how well he comes off the bench. We'll see how good of addition Patrick Beverly is. I mean, they don't really have much of a bench at all. So I don't. That's one of the reasons. Again, along with the injuries and the first-year head coach Darvin Ham, although I feel like he'll do maybe a good job later down the line, is why I feel like they'll be in the play-in tournament. And then 10, this one was hard. It's again like in the East is fair. This one was between Portland and Sacramento here, because I like the draft that Sacramento had and getting Keegan Murray. He seems to be a stud, and I like their free agent additions. They got good shooters in Kevin Herter, Malik Monk, and then Portland, they had good additions. They got Jeremy Grant, which is a big deal. They got Gary Payton II. While their bench is still not too deep, their bench got a little bit deeper with those acquisitions, which helps. And of course, Damian Lillard will be healthy this year, unlike last year. So I do feel like I can see this going either way, though. For me, I'm buying a little bit to the Sacramento hype, so I'm gonna go with Sacramento to get that last spot there barely, and then Portland 11th, and then I have Utah 12th. A lot of people think Utah's gonna be dead last, but I feel like they have too much. They still have good pieces. They still have enough talent to be dead last. And then Houston 13, you can flip flop either or. I can see either or. Oklahoma City 14 is San Antonio Spurs as the worst team in the league. I have them last. Keldon Johnson is your best player, or Jacob Polo is your best player either or. Just like give me a break, There's a reason why Greg Popovich said don't bet on us to win a championship. So now I'll go to playoff scenarios real quick. So in the East, I would have both, Miami and Toronto winning their play-in tournament games. So then you have, the first round playoff sets. I would have Philly's a 1 seed, Milwaukee's a 2 seed, Cleveland's a 3 seed, Boston's a 4 seed. No, Brooklyn is the 5 seed actually. I'm saying Boston. They're all moving on. Second round, Philadelphia, Brooklyn. I have Brooklyn getting the upset there, and then Milwaukee, Cleveland, Milwaukee wins. So you have a Milwaukee Brooklyn rematch from a couple years ago, and have Milwaukee winning to go to the finals. In the West, I have Phoenix and Pelicans winning their play-in tournaments. And I have Golden State, Dallas, Denver, and Clippers winning their first round matchups. And then you have a Golden State Clippers semifinals, which is super good. That could be a Western Conference Finals, but that's like super elite right there. And then Dallas, Denver. So I have Clippers upsetting the Warriors there, again, assuming health, and then Dallas being Denver. So you have a Dallas Clippers rematch from a few years ago, because at this time Dallas has home court advantage. But I'm going to have the Clippers to get the win there. So you have a Bucks Clippers matchup. Again, if the Clippers don't stay healthy or all that, then this will probably be a Bucks Warriors matchup. But I have Bucks Clippers matchup, and then I finally have the Clippers with all their depth and pieces finally getting the job done here, now them winning the championship. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast. Please subscribe to my channel, turn about me, let me know what you think of my predictions. Again, if you want to see my full in-depth analysis on everything, please go to my link page down there, and I'll be posting down there in the next few days this article. You can kind of look over all the teams and stuff like that. Thank you very much. You all have a wonderful day.